fourth chapter of the book of Judges of Shoftim is one that is well known to many because it describes one of the exceptional female characters in the Tanakh, and that is where we will begin. By Yosifu v'nei Yisrael lasot hara b'nei Adonai ve'ehud meit. So we talked, of course, yesterday about the cycle. The first stage in the cycle is that the Bnei Yisrael, they go and they sin. And that's what they do here, stage one. Vayim karem Adonai biyad Yavin melech Canaan asher me'alach b'chatzor v'sartzvo Sisra v'hu yoshev b'charoshet hagoyim. And God gave them over to Yavin, the king of Canaan, who reigned in Chazor. His army commander was Sisra, whose base was in Charoshet Hagoyim. So once again, we have a situation here, we have a story here where the people of Israel are in trouble, and they're in trouble because of their sins, and this is stage two. They're now being defeated and subjugated by an enemy. Stage three, Vayetzaku v'nei Yisrael Adonai ki tisha meot rechev barzelo v'hu lachatz et bnei Yisrael v'chazaka esrim shana. And Bnei Yisrael cry out to God because Sisra and his king, they have 900 iron chariots, and we pointed this out the other day. The technology, Bnei Yisrael may have still sort of been almost in like a Stone Age or something. I don't know if it was full Stone Age, but the other nations in Canaan have better technology. They have here iron chariots, and so they are ruling over and subjugating Bnei Yisrael for 20 years. And now comes Udvora Isha Niviot Eshet Lapidot He Shoftat Yisrael Be'etahi. Devorah was the wife of Lapidot, and she was a prophetess. She led Israel at that time. V'hi Yoshevet Tachat Tomer Devorah Bein Harama Uvein Beit El Behar Ephraim. And she sat under the palm tree, which was situated between Ramah and Beit El in the hills of Ephraim. Vayalu aleha b'nei Yisrael lamishpat. And Bnei Yisrael came to her for her decisions. And here we see, as opposed to many of the other shoftim and leaders in this book, Devorah is truly a shofetet. She's somebody who's judging. She's offering what we might call today halachic rulings, what was called in the past the court cases, court rulings, but she is truly a shofetet in a different way than the rest of the shoftim in many ways. Vatishlach, and she sent Vatikra leVarak ben Avinoam mi Kedesh Naphtali, and she sent a message to Barak, who was in Kedesh, a place in Naphtali. It was from Naphtali. Vatomer Elav. Halo tziva Adonai lo Yisrael lech umashachta bahar tavor v'lakachta imcha aseret alafim ish mibnei Naphtali umibnei Zevulun. She calls him and she says, "Go and get 10,000 men from Naphtali and Zvulun and go up to Har Tavor to go and wage war. Umashachti alecha, and I will draw Sisra el Nachal Kishon et Sisra sartzvo Yavin v'et Rechbo v'et Hamono unitatihu biyadecha." And I will draw them, and then to the Kishon, to the Wadi of Kishon, and I will deliver them into your hands. This is the message from Devorah, from God through Devorah to Barak. Vayomer eleha Barak, im telchi imi v'halachti, v'im lo telchi imi lo elech. Barak says to her, if you lead me, then I will go, but if you don't, then I will not go. And it's an interesting thing to point out here. We have Barak and we have Devorah, Eshet Lapidot. And both of those names are related to fire. Lapid is a torch, Barak is lightning. And Devorah, the torch, has to fire up the lightning. He's reluctant. We need that torch to fire up to make the big fire, and only then will he harness. Only then will he go and fight against the enemies. Devorah is the starter. She is a person. Starter is a good word. She's the fire starter. She's the one who really has the sense of God in her, and therefore she's really the one who's leading Bnei Yisrael. And so Barak says, right, I will only go if you go with me. Vatomer, she says to him, Halo chelechi mach, I will go with you. FS. However, you should know, Kilotia tifartcha laderach asher ata olech biad isha yimkor Adonai et Sisra v'atakam devora v'atelech im barak kedsha. So she says, that's okay, but just know the glory is not going to be yours. Sisera is going to be delivered into the hands of a woman. But Barak, he doesn't get upset by the fact that he may not get the full glory of this battle, and he goes. He's ready to go into battle as long as he has Devorah, the Shofetet, the Niviah, on his side. Vayazek Barak et Zvulun v'et Naftali. We're in verse 10. Kedsha vayal baraglav aseret alfei ish vatali mo Devorah. And so Barak gathers the 10,000 men from the tribes of Zvulun and Naphtali, and they're on their way, and Devorah goes up with him. V'chever hakeni nifrad mekain mivnei chovev chotein Moshe vayeto alo ad elon asher et ba'atzanamim asher et kadesh. And Chever, the Cani, was separated from the other Canaanites, but they were descendants of Chovav. Chovav, or he's known as Yitro, many names that are given to Moshe's father-in-law. He's identified as being a relative. He's a descendant of Moshe's father-in-law, and he is in Kedesh. Vayagidu Sisra ki alav Barak ben Avinoam har Tavor, and Sisera was informed that Barak, the son of Avinoam, had gone up to Har Tavor. Why are we mentioning the Cani here? We will, of course, come back to them in a little bit. And what we know, we've said numerous times in the past, the family of Yitro, the Cani, is often used as sort of the counter to the enemies of Israel. They are the ones who are friendly. They are the ones who are supportive of Bnei Israel. We said this just the other day. Amalek attacks Bnei Israel, and after the splitting of the Red Sea, and Yitro comes and he says, Baruch Hashem. He said, blessed be God who's performed all these miracles for our people. And we'll see this again. The Cani are sort of the friends of Bnei Yisrael. So Sisera is told that Barak has come up to Har Tavor, Vayazak, and the same word that's used before, we had that Barak, Vayazek, he called out and gathered and mustered his men. And now we have Sisera doing the same in verse 13. Vayazek, Sisera, kol richbot meot. Rechev barzel bet kol am asher ito mecharoshet hagoyim el nachal Kishon. And so Sisera he musters up his 900 iron chariots and all of his soldiers, and they go to the Wadi of Kishon. Vatomer Dvorah el Barak kum. Dvorah says, okay, Barak, now is the time. Ki zeh yom asher natan Adonai et Sisera biyadecha, halo Adonai yatsa lefanecha, vayered Barak me'ar Tavor v'aseret alafim ish acharav. Dvorah says, this is the day, this is the time. God will deliver Sisera into your hands. Maybe he thinks from this words that he's going to be the one who's going to capture Sisera. Here she means just the army generally. The glory again will not be to you. And Barak charges like lightning, right? Lightning that's charging down from Har Tavor. It's coming down like lightning from the sky. And he has his 10,000 men with him. Vayahas Adonai et Sisera, and God threw Sisera that kol harechav et kol hamachaneh lefi cherem lifnei Barak vayered Sisera me'al hamerkava vayanas baraglav. And so there's a great defeat of the Canaanite army, and they're thrown into a panic, and their chariots get stuck. Right, sort of reminiscent the chariots. We think back to Egypt and the chariots that sink into the sea. And Sisera is thrown off his chariot. He jumps off his chariot because they're stuck, and he starts to run away. Uvarach radaf acharei harechev. Right, and the lightning is running after the chariots. V'acharei hamachaneh, and following the camp. Ad charoshet hagoyim, as far as this place of charoshet goyim. Vayipol kol machanes Yisrael lefi cherev lo nishar ad echad. All of Sisera's army, the Canaanites who have been subjugating Bnei Yisrael, they are completely defeated. But Sisera, you got to cut off the head, right? For Sisera nasper aglav el ohel yael eshet chever hakeni ki shalom ben Yavin melech Hatzor vein beit chever hakeni. But Sisera, right? He runs into the tent of chever hakeni, the tent of Yael, because there was friendship, right? The people, the Cani, just like I said, they're kind, they're nice to Bnei Yisrael. So it's not surprising they're good also to these other neighbors who are there, to these Canaanites of Yavin melech Hatzor. Vateitze Yael likrat Sisera, and Yael comes out to greet Sisera. Right, and just think about it, right? His name is Chever Aknani. He's a Chaver. He's a friend to everybody. And so when Yael comes out and Sisera sees him, and she says to him, Vatomer elav suru Adoni Aduni suru elai al tira, vayasar eleha oala, vatichasehu bismicha. And she says to him, "Come in, my lord, don't be afraid." And he enters her tent, and she covers him with a blanket. We see the word sur there a number of times. And Vayomer eleha hashkini na ma'at mayim kitsameti. And he says to her, "Will you give me just a little bit of water because I am thirsty?" But she opens up a skin with milk in it and gives him some warm milk or something to drink. And she covers him up with a blanket. Vayomer eleha, and he says to her, "Amod petach haol, stand by the entrance. Vayayimish yavo ushe'elech va'amar hayesh po ish v'amar ta'ayin." If somebody comes to you and asks, "Is there a man in this house?" Say, "Nope, nobody that I know of." Vatikach Yael eshet chever et yitad ha'ohel. So she goes to the entrance of the tent proudly, but she doesn't just stand there. She takes a tent pin, something that's holding down her tent, and this is not camping for one night, right? This is a permanent tent. Vatasem et hamakevet biyada, and she grasps the mallet from the tent peg. Vatavo elav balat vatitka et hayated birakto vatitznach baaretz v'hu nirdam vayaf vayamot. And when he is asleep or approaching the sleep because he's exhausted, she comes secretly and she drives the stake in through his temple, and it reaches all the way down into the ground. Right, his head is with this stake into the ground. It was supposed to hold the tent in its place. Instead, it's holding Sisra's head in its place. V'nei Barak rodef et Sisra, and here we go back to Barak, and he thinks maybe he still has the chance. The lightning is running after Sisra. V'atetze Yael likroto. Yael comes out to greet him. V'atomer lo lech va'arecha et ha'isha asher ata mivakesh. And she says to him, "Come here, and I will show you the man who you are looking for." Vayavo elav inis Sisra nofel meit v'hayated birakato. And he went inside, and there was Sisra lying dead with the pin through his temple. And on that day, God subdued King Yavin of the Canaanites, right? He loses his whole army. So here we get to the last stage of the cycle, where now Bnei Yisrael are the ones in charge. They are the ones now subjugating the Canaanites until they destroy completely Yavin, the king of Canaan. And obviously, this is a wonderful chapter, mostly for the main reason being because it really features a heroine, a woman hero, really two women who are heroes, but most principally Devorah, which names their word, right, means a beam. Many of the names of the great women in Tanakh, Rivka, Devorah, Yael, are names of animals. And she is the one who lights the fire. She is the one who's able to fly. Barak, the lightning, has to follow her. And only it is her presence as a shofetet, as a nevi'ah, and as a person of that stature and greatness that brings about the victory for Bnei Yisrael. And we will see more about her. We'll talk more about Yael tomorrow when we have the Shirah, the song of Devorah.